Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. So what are we building? We are continuing to build this application of ours here. Let me just go ahead and run the app. As you could see, we have our chevron button. It brings up this bottom sheet. We could interact with the bottom sheet. Right now, we cannot select an image, but our goal for this particular lesson here, lecture, video, is to be able to click on one of those circles and select a different image versus Mario here. Okay, so this is the goal of the lesson. Without further ado, let's get started. And if you're following along, I will have the GitHub link for this particular project in the video. Okay, so let us go into the profile view. I think that's where we want to be for now. And our profile view, right now I have the content view pinned. So if you want to pin the content view, for example, here I have it pinned. If I want it to be unpinned, I'll just select this pin icon. Right now it's unpinned. So if I was to go to the profile view, you won't see the content view appear here. You'll only see the profile view. Okay. So right now we have the profile view and we have our preview showing the fourth image here, the fourth profile. If I were to show the first profile, it just index into 0, we'll get Swift. And if we see here, how many profiles do we have? We have 5. So earlier we were indexing it to 3, it was showing Wakanda. Let's just go back there for now. Okay, awesome. So what we want to do is when we click on this circle icon here, we want to be able to toggle or turn it on. For us to do that, we need to add a state property. So we'll go ahead and add a state property here. We'll make it private. Again, state basically is the source of truth for this view. So whatever this state property is, as it changes the view, the SwiftUI view will re-render or redraw itself based on the state of this particular state property. Now, the state property we will have here, we will call it selected profile, just like that. And our selected profile will be, for example, let's just hard code some value right now. I'll just go ahead and copy this profile here, and I'll change the value for us to see what's going on. So right now I have, let's go ahead and select Swift, which is the first one. We know that because this is the first profile we have in our array. Now, if I go ahead and say selected profile is Swift, that's fine. We are not doing anything yet. And let's go ahead and add some updates. So right now we have our circle. So for the state where it's selected, I'll use this. Actually, let's just put circle back here. And I will go ahead and say if my selected profile equal to my profile, I want to change the state of this button. So what we'll do right on our circle, I'll say selected profile. If it's equal to our profile coming in to this view, then we want to show, let me just go ahead and hide this sidebar here. If the profile is equal to the selected profile, I want to go ahead and show what is the icon it is. I want to do button dot programmable, right? And if it's not selected, then we will render a circle just like that. Where am I getting this button programmable from? Again, this is from SF Symbols. So if you search for SF Symbols, it will come up. And I think what I searched for was, one second here. I searched for button And I just use this button dot programmable here. So feel free to use any sort of like circle or toggle you want. There's circle stuff here, like the circle, that fill, and different sort of circles. The circle fill if you want. Feel free to be creative here. So if we want to basically toggle the image, what it is. So if it's not equal, right, it's going to show the circle, which it is right now. But if we were to say, change this to 3, let's see what happens. Right? So this particular profile is equal to our current profile. So it's going to render a selected state, which is our button dot programmable. We'll go one step further. We'll just copy this sort of like check here, and we'll go change the foreground color. So if the foreground color, if the profile is the same profile that we're viewing, then we will make the color blue. Okay, if it's not, then it's going to be gray. So here we are. So it is the same profile. It will be selected. It will be blue. Cool. Awesome. And let's just go back and go to our Swift image, and we'll see it's not selected. Okay. So this is somewhat of the first step here in our sort of like, I click on this or it's selected, it should be the one showing the background image here. So this is good. Let's keep going. Now, this represents the source of truth for this view. So whenever this changes, right, as we saw here, we just hard coded it, it's going to redraw the view. Now, the view in isolation is not enough. Like that profile view needs to get this selected profile from a parent view, right? In that case, we have our list view rendering the profile. So if we go back to our list view, if we go back to our list view, look, this is already working, right? It's already selected, but our list view has all our profiles. Now the list view is the one controlling the chart view here or passing the data. So we want to propagate that data so that if we go, say, all the way back to our content view and we bring up our bottom sheet, we select Mario or we select JavaScript. Right now, nothing happens because we have no interactions yet. Then it's going to show that particular view. Again, Swift is selected hard-coded. It's not being passed by the parent, okay? This is just selected by default. Let's go ahead and fix things. So go back to the profile list and actually go back to the profile view. So state is only for the view that it's contained in, right? So that like property wrapper, right? This data binding here is used for capturing state within the view itself, not from like a parent. If we want to go to one hierarchy higher or to the parent, then we could use, I'll actually just comment this code out here, and I will copy this line and we'll do some tweaks here. So we can't use state here. State is not enough because state is encapsulated to its view, right? So we'll use binding, right? So binding expects this value to be passed in, right? You see the compiler is already complaining here because now we want to update our declaration here. So we want to not hard code this because that's not going to work. Binding cannot be private, right? It's passing in from a parent view. And here we will annotate this to be a profile because that's what we're expecting. Awesome. Now we have an error. Let's see, missing argument, right? Because now it's expecting to be supplied with this binding of selected profile. So we'll go ahead and we will say selected profile. As we see, it's expecting a binding of a profile. So we'll go ahead, we'll say profile. And since this is a preview, we will hard code this binding as a constant. And if you see, the constant is expecting a profile. We have a profile. We could just pass in profile.data, and we'll pass in 3. If we pass in 3, actually, we'll just pass in, let's see, 3 is going to be equal. That's fine. It's going to render. But right now we have autocompiler errors. Let's go fix those compiler errors, and then we'll come back to this preview. Because right now our preview is broken because we have compiler errors probably here in the profile list. So if we take a look at the profile list here, you see it's missing a binding because now this profile view is expecting 2 arguments. So we also need to pass in a binding here of selected profile, but we don't have that profile yet. So we'll go one step further. On the profile list, we'll also pass in a binding. And here we'll keep the names the same. We'll say selected profile is a profile, just like that. And now we could pass in our binding, which is $ selected profile. Again, remember earlier, we said this $ represents a binding. Without the $ is the actual value. Okay, same thing here. In our preview, if we want our preview to work, we need to pass in a selected profile. I'll just click fix, and I'll pass in a constant. I'll pass in a constant profile here, and I'll say profile.data, and we'll pass in 3 for now, Wakanda still. Let's see, we might have one more error back in our content view, which we do have. Again, it's failing, so let's go back to our content view, and let's see, we have an error. We have an error here on line 49, missing argument. Again, we're missing selected profile. What is the selected profile here? Well, right now we're in the root view, call it root view, or the parent view, the one that's actually supplying the child views with the profile information. So here we have our is bottom sheet presented. That's fine as a state property. We'll add an next state property here, and it's going to be a private property and selected profile. And here we will say selected profile is, we'll just say profile.data, and we'll pass in 3 for now. We could change those values, but that's still Wakanda. So Wakanda is selected by default, and we will pass in our binding here of selected profile. Our preview should be happy now, which it is. Great. And let's see. So no longer we're using this profile. Let's actually remove this particular profile because now we have state. This is not state. This isn't, whatever changes here is not going to update our SwiftUI view. So let's remove this profile and let's fix compiler errors. So now our source of truth, which in that case here, source of truth for selected profile is the selected profile. So here we'll say selected profile dot profile. I'll just copy this and let's fix this error. And let's fix this error because now we have our selected profile passing in its properties. Selected profile.image, selected profile.name, selected profile.image. And what else we have? Cool, awesome. So already we're seeing now that if I change this selected profile to say 0, it will be Swift, right? Awesome. So let's go back to 3, which is Wakanda. This is our one source of truth. So anybody changes this, it's going to change this entire view. Awesome. Now let's keep going. If I click on my chevron, it brings up my, look at this, right? It's selected already because everything gets passed in by via bindings. So this profile view now has this binding. If we go back to profile view, it's expecting this binding. So whatever the profile view gets passed in, that's what will be rendered here. So if we go back to our content view and I select Mario, nothing happens. We have no interaction yet. Let's go ahead and fix that. So in profile view, we want to add a tab gesture on this button here. So this button is this image. We'll just go ahead and add on tab gesture. What do we want to do? When the user clicks on this, we want to say selected profile equal to the current profile that I changed, or the current profile that I'm on, right? So the minute this changes, all views associated with this selected profile will be updated, okay? So we could put a note there for ourselves. So changing selected profile here will re-render all views associated with it. Okay, so any view that depends on selected profile will be re-rendered by SwiftUI. Okay, so let's see this in action. Let's go back to our content view. Actually, now we could pin our content view so we're not going back and forth. So to pin your content view, just click on this pin icon button here. And actually, let's just stay here for now. If I click on my chevron, it brings up my bottom sheet. As expected, Wakanda is selected. If I select Swift, look at that. Swift is selected. Our bottom sheet does not dismiss. We'll fix that. If I click on JavaScript, that's going to get selected. If I click on Year of the Rabbit, that's going to get selected. If I click on Mario again, Mario is going to get selected. Check out the movie. My son really loved the movie, and we may go see it again and again and again. Okay, so what we want to fix is I click on JavaScript. I want the bottom sheet to dismiss. So go back to profile view. Right now, we could just go back to content view like that because it's pinned now to our previews. Awesome. So what we want to do, when I select my icon or my button, I want it to dismiss. So a good place to do that is writing that on tab gesture. So we'll go ahead and declare another property here, and it's going to be an environment property. And what we're after is this key path called dismiss. Now, if you see dismiss action, an action that dismisses the current presentation. So the current presentation in that case is going to be the bottom sheet. So when we click on dismiss, it's going to dismiss the bottom sheet. Now, this is what we're after. We'll declare it private. We'll say var, and we'll say dismiss, just like that. And we will go down right after we select our profile. We'll just say dismiss, just like that. And it's a function. You want to call it to invoke it. And that should be enough. Let's test this out. Content view, bring up my bottom sheet. Let's see all our profiles. Select Year of the Rabbit. And look at that. It dismisses the bottom sheet. Okay. Let's go ahead, select Mario. Dismisses the bottom sheet as well. And select Wakanda. Dismisses the bottom sheet. Awesome. So I think that's all we have. We did very good here. We wrapped up this video series in 3 parts. Feel free to explore more. You could add more profiles in here. You could update the icons. You could feel free to customize this the way you want. Cool. Let's just review what we did throughout the series. We created this header view here. If we go back to the content view, we created this header image here, this H stack, which has an image, it has text, a spacer to push the chevron to the right, and we have this image, and we have this other image here, which actually is the bigger image or the larger image, and we added a tab gesture here. We added a tab gesture on this chevron icon. So when you click on it, right, you click on it, it has this state object, which is bottom sheet here. You click on it, it's going to toggle true or false. So if it's true, it will present the bottom sheet, which is the profile list. This is a list here. And we went ahead and we created an array of presentation detents. We have, if I go back, we start off with 0.3 or a third, not a third, but like 30% of the height here. And then we have a medium size and we have a larger size. All that is getting passed into the presentation detents. And we created a list of items or profiles. Actually, let me go back one step. So we have this profile object, which just has a name and an image. And we created a mock set of data with just hard-coded values, Swift Mario, and those images are in our image assets. Again, if you don't have those images, you could download the GitHub project, or you could create or have your own assets in there. But this is the basic object. So in our object, we have how many? We have 5 objects, right? Each of them have an association. So a name, image, name, image. If we go back to our profile list, we have this like list of items. We have this for each running. And in this for each, we are rendering a profile view for each item. And the profile view takes in this binding, which is very important, because that binding, if we go back to say binding here, this binding creates a two-way communication, basically, between itself and order view, right? So if I change anything I change in the profile view, whoever else is depending upon the selected profile, their view will also be re-rendered. So in our profile view, we have the selected view, or selected profile rather, that we passed in here. And in our, yeah, that's it pretty much. And our previews were broken before, but now they are working because we pass in our constant binding. Again, if your Swift preview is dependent on the binding, this is the way to go. You pass in a constant with whatever the value is. If it's a Boolean, you could pass in true or false. If it's an object, you need to pass in that object. Okay? Hope you enjoyed the series. Actually, let's just run our app in the simulator before we end. So this is our app, and we have our bottom sheet, and we could select different profiles. Hope you enjoyed the series. Please feel free to leave comments, likes, comments, subscribe, pass the word. Anything else you want me to showcase, please let me know. Other than that, I will catch you in upcoming videos. Bye-bye.